A single shout cut through the polished silence of the corporate headquarters just as one of the country's most powerful CEOs stepped toward the grand marble staircase. Every executive froze in disbelief when the voice came not from security, not from an engineer, not from one of the company's highly paid consultants, but from the quiet janitor pushing a worn cleaning cart across the lobby. "Don't move, follow me." For one impossible heartbeat, everyone stared in outrage, convinced the humble single father had lost his mind. Seconds later, the massive glass chandelier above the staircase tore loose from its ceiling mount, crashing into thousands of razor-sharp pieces exactly where the CEO had been about to stand. The room erupted into terrified screams, while the millionaire executive stood trembling only a few feet away, alive because the one person everyone ignored had refused to stay silent. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so you can become part of our growing family. And never miss another inspiring story. Graham Ellsworth had never expected life to become so small. Years earlier he had worked as a maintenance technician at a manufacturing company until the business collapsed without warning. His wife passed away after a long illness just months later, leaving him alone with his 7-year-old daughter, Elodie. Every morning before sunrise they shared breakfast in their tiny apartment, laughing over burnt toast and homemade jam because pretending everything was fine was easier than letting sadness settle into every corner of their home. Graham accepted the janitor position inside Blackridge Global simply because it was the first company willing to hire someone his age without asking impossible questions about his past. He wore his faded uniform with quiet dignity, never complaining about the endless floors he polished or the overflowing trash bins he emptied while executives hurried past without making eye contact. His daughter believed he worked in the most beautiful building in the city. Whenever she drew pictures for school, she filled the page with sparkling windows, flowers outside the entrance, and her father smiling beside a shining floor. She never understood why he returned home exhausted every afternoon with aching knees and tired hands. Graham never wanted her to know that many people treated him as though he were invisible. He simply reminded her that honest work was something to be proud of, no matter what title appeared on a name badge. The company's CEO, Meredith Hawthorne, had built an extraordinary reputation as a fearless business leader. Investors admired her intelligence, newspapers celebrated her financial victories, and employees respected her demanding standards. Yet success had slowly wrapped her in an invisible wall. Every meeting, every decision, and every schedule was carefully managed by assistants who believed protecting her meant keeping ordinary employees at a distance. She rarely noticed the people cleaning conference rooms after meetings or repairing broken lights before dawn. It was not cruelty. It was simply a life moving so quickly that countless faces blurred together. Graham noticed details that others overlooked because maintenance workers always learned to pay attention. During the previous week he had heard unusual metallic groans above the central staircase whenever the air conditioning system reached full power. He submitted a maintenance request, but the department responsible postponed the inspection because an international investor conference occupied everyone's attention. The decorative chandelier hanging above the staircase weighed several hundred pounds, yet someone had marked the repair as non-urgent. That morning the building buzzed with excitement. Television crews waited outside while major investors filled the lobby. Meredith arrived surrounded by executives discussing billion-dollar negotiations. Graham happened to be polishing the floor nearby when he heard a sharp cracking sound unlike anything he had ever heard before. Years of repairing machinery had trained his ears. He looked upward and saw one of the steel support brackets bending ever so slightly. The change was almost invisible, but he recognized immediate danger. Instinct overcame fear. Without thinking about his position or the consequences, Graham abandoned his cleaning cart and shouted for the CEO to stop moving. Many executives reacted with anger before they reacted with understanding. Several security officers rushed toward him, believing he had disrupted an important event. Yet Graham ignored them and motioned desperately toward a safer section of the lobby. Meredith saw something in his face that no rehearsed emergency drill could imitate. It was pure urgency mixed with genuine concern. She stepped away from the staircase, the chandelier collapsed less than 2 seconds later, silence replaced the screams almost as quickly as they began. Dust floated through bright streams of daylight pouring across the shattered marble floor. Glass glittered everywhere. Security cameras captured every unbelievable second. Several executives stood frozen, unable to process how narrowly disaster had been avoided. Meredith looked back toward the destroyed staircase, then toward Graham, whose breathing remained heavy as he quietly held onto his cleaning cart. The conference was immediately cancelled while emergency crews secured the building. Reporters gathered outside searching for answers. Graham expected to return to cleaning another floor after giving a short statement, but instead investigators asked detailed questions about how he recognized the danger. He calmly explained the sounds he had heard throughout the week and mentioned the ignored maintenance report. His words embarrassed several department managers who realized warnings from frontline workers had never reached leadership because they had been dismissed as routine complaints. Meredith could not stop thinking about the man who had saved her life. She asked Human Resources for his employment file. Instead of discovering an unremarkable janitor, she found years of certifications in mechanical systems, industrial safety, structural maintenance, and emergency inspections. Before losing his previous career, Graham had supervised maintenance teams responsible for preventing exactly the type of accident that nearly became a tragedy. Financial hardship had forced him into janitorial work, yet nobody had bothered asking what knowledge existed beneath the simple uniform. Later that afternoon Meredith walked through the maintenance area for the first time since becoming CEO. She found Graham quietly replacing damaged supplies, assuming the excitement had already ended. He seemed uncomfortable receiving attention and insisted anyone with experience would have recognized the danger. Meredith realized humility often lives inside people who have spent years being overlooked. The following days changed more than newspaper headlines. Independent investigators concluded the accident resulted from delayed repairs and communication failures throughout the company. Several executives expected Meredith to protect senior managers from criticism, but she surprised everyone by accepting responsibility for a culture where important voices could be ignored simply because of job titles. She admitted that leadership had become disconnected from the people who understood the building best. Instead of rewarding Graham with only a financial bonus and moving on, Meredith invited him to help redesign workplace safety procedures. Some executives quietly objected, believing a janitor had no place advising corporate leadership. Graham himself hesitated because he feared the attention would disappear as quickly as it arrived. Yet Meredith insisted that wisdom should never depend upon office size or expensive suits. Graham accepted under one condition. Every employee, from interns to executives, would participate equally in safety training and suggestion meetings. No idea would be dismissed because of someone's position. Meredith agreed immediately. The changes spread throughout Blackridge Global. Anonymous suggestion boxes disappeared because employees no longer feared speaking openly. Maintenance requests received priority reviews. Receptionists, cafeteria workers, cleaners, security guards, and technicians attended monthly improvement sessions alongside directors and vice presidents. Slowly the company transformed into a place where listening became more valuable than pretending to know everything. At home, Elodie noticed her father smiling more often. He still wore his work boots proudly, but now he returned carrying stories about people finally greeting him by name. She watched him prepare presentations after dinner while practicing multiplication homework beside him. Sometimes they celebrated with inexpensive ice cream because life had begun offering hope instead of constant survival. Months later Meredith visited Graham's apartment after learning that Elodie had won a citywide essay competition. The little girl's winning essay described her father as the bravest man she knew, not because he saved a millionaire, but because every difficult day he chose kindness instead of bitterness. Meredith read the essay twice before quietly wiping away tears she could no longer hide. She realized the greatest act of courage had not been Graham's warning beneath the chandelier. It had been his refusal to let hardship destroy his compassion. Inspired by that realization, Meredith established scholarships for employees seeking additional education regardless of their position. Custodians studied engineering. Receptionists earned business degrees. Warehouse workers completed management training. Promotions increasingly reflected talent instead of visibility. The company's profits unexpectedly increased because people worked hardest where they felt respected. One afternoon, another crisis tested everything they had built. A small electrical fire broke out inside an equipment room during business hours. Instead of panic and confusion, employees followed procedures developed together under Graham's guidance. The building evacuated safely within minutes. Firefighters later praised the company's preparation, noting that countless injuries had been prevented through simple planning and cooperation. Meredith publicly credited the entire staff, emphasizing that every person contributed to the success. Graham stood quietly at the back of the gathering, proud not of recognition but of seeing others believe their voices mattered. Years passed, and the story of the falling chandelier slowly became less about a dramatic accident and more about the culture born from that unforgettable day. New employees heard the story during orientation, not to celebrate one heroic rescue but to remind everyone that respect should never depend upon a paycheck or office door. Graham eventually became director of facility safety, yet he kept his original janitor's identification badge framed inside his office. Whenever visitors asked why he displayed it so proudly, he explained that it reminded him never to overlook someone simply because the world overlooked them first. Meredith also changed in ways no business magazine could measure. She began eating lunch regularly in the employee cafeteria instead of private dining rooms. She learned the names of gardeners, cleaners, security officers, and mailroom clerks. Decisions became less about appearances and more about people. Investors admired the company's remarkable financial growth, but employees admired something even greater. They finally believed they belonged. Elodie grew into a confident young woman who pursued engineering because she wanted to build safer buildings for families everywhere. At her university graduation, she thanked her father for teaching her that true success is measured by the number of lives we lift rather than the titles we collect. Meredith sat proudly among the audience, applauding with tears shining in her eyes, grateful that one ordinary morning had completely rewritten her understanding of leadership. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Before you go, please leave a meaningful comment and tell us this. Have you ever met someone the world underestimated? Who completely changed your life, or what lesson from Graham's courage will you carry with you? As the afternoon sunlight poured through the same lobby where shattered glass had once covered the floor, visitors admired a simple bronze plaque placed near the rebuilt staircase. It did not mention wealth, corporate success, or dramatic heroics. It carried only a quiet reminder that everyone who entered could understand, the greatest lives are often saved not by the loudest voices, but by the kindest hearts willing to speak when everyone else remains silent. And in that building, no one ever walked past a cleaner, a guard, or a receptionist without offering a smile, because one ordinary single father had reminded an entire company that every human being deserves to be seen, heard, and valued.